But we begin this morning in the Middle East, where the United States has kicked off an effort to guide ships out of the Strait of Hormuz. President Trump says the U.S. will only help vessels from countries that are not involved in the war with Iran. He called the move a humanitarian gesture and warned Tehran not to interfere. Iran's military says U.S. forces will be attacked if they enter the strait. Over the weekend, the president was asked whether he might restart military strikes on Iran.
If they misbehave, if they do something bad, but right now, we'll see. But, it's a possibility that could happen, certainly.
CBS News White House reporter Aaron Navarro joins us now to talk about this. So, Aaron, my understanding from the reporting is that although the United States is planning on guiding ships out of the strait, they won't be using the U.S. military, in other words, the Navy. Do I understand that correctly?
I believe the indication that we've gotten, the information we've gotten from CENTCOM, is that it will include U.S.-guided missile destroyers, over 100 land and sea-based aircraft, multi-domain unmanned platforms, and 15,000 service members. I don't know if maybe they didn't distinguish between U.S. and Israeli forces there, but it is a U.S.-led operation and comes at a moment where there are at least 2,000 ships that have been stranded in the Strait of Hormuz, with about 20,000 working personnel that have been there pretty much since the beginning of this operation, this war with Iran. The president, in a long post over the weekend, said that they are doing this to free up countries, quote, that have done nothing wrong. He called them victims of circumstance and said it's for the good of Iran and the Middle East. He later noted that this is to help those ships that may be running low on food and may be reaching unsanitary conditions. But as you mentioned, this did not seem to get any type of green light from Iran, as they have warned that U.S. forces would be attacked if they enter the Strait of Hormuz. We saw earlier this morning, Washington time, Iranian sources say that they launched 2 strikes on a U.S. naval vessel, though U.S. CENTCOM denies that that was the case.
Also want to ask about the impact of what's happening here. You know, gas prices, Aaron, they're up 50% since the war began. How is the Trump administration addressing this?
The average right now is $4.45 a gallon. And the administration has struggled to answer that question throughout this operation, but they have been pointing to several things. Domestic energy production is one of them. They mentioned how they have tapped in to the strategic petroleum reserve, oil that is in the U.S. domestically, though that will take time. And note how they have waived the Jones Act, which requires that goods shipped between U.S. ports are on U.S.-built vessels. They say that that frees up the amount of ships that can transport oil, and the White House claims that it has allowed 9 million more barrels of oil to reach domestic ports in the U.S. White House National Economic Council Chair Kevin Hassett was on Face the Nation yesterday and said that they are, quote, taking an all-of-the-above approach to address this short-term pain. Take a listen to what he said on Sunday.
The fact is that what the president is seeing is that the blockade is working. It's putting an enormous amount of pressure on Iran. If people look at their gas bills, of course they're higher, and we're doing everything we can to make the temporary increase as small as possible.
Now, Hassett also lumped in other short-term economic help from the administration, such as the increase in tax returns, and claiming the wage increase that the U.S. is seeing as a result of the president's economic policies. But it continues to hurt the president and his party politically. 62% disapproved of his job in a new Washington Post ABC News poll from this past weekend. And that is his lowest, his highest, rather, disapproval rating in that poll in his second term.
All right. Aaron Navarro reporting for us from the White House. Thank you, Aaron.
And for more on this developing story, we're joined now by senior foreign correspondent Holly Williams. So, Holly, bring us up to speed. What's happening on the ground inside the Strait of Hormuz right now?
Good morning, Chanel and Vlad. Well, President Trump announced this new initiative to guide stranded ships out of the Strait of Hormuz on Sunday, saying it would begin this morning. That is Monday morning local time here in the Middle East, an initiative called Project Freedom. In a social media post, President Trump said that it was a humanitarian gesture and said that many of the ships that are stranded are actually running short of food. But the plan is clearly also a challenge to Iran's control over the Strait of Hormuz, and for that reason, potentially perilous. Iran's powerful Revolutionary Guards responded with a statement saying, quote, "We warn that any foreign armed forces, especially the aggressive U.S. military that intends to approach or enter the Strait of Hormuz, will be targeted." Now, just a reminder of the background to all of this. The U.S. initiated the war with Iran back in February, and before the ceasefire began, was clearly militarily dominant. But by paralyzing traffic through the Strait of Hormuz, a narrow waterway that normally carries around 20% of the world's oil, the Iranians have gained an immensely powerful bargaining chip and put a lot of pressure on President Trump to end the war. We are all obviously feeling the impact with gas prices, and it's also disrupted the global supply of fertilizer. We heard from the boss of one of the world's biggest fertilizer companies just last week. He said that it will impact food supply and could cost billions of meals a week globally, with the world's poorest most at risk.
So, Holly, as far as the state of negotiations, the U.S. and Iran are still trading proposals back and forth. Has there been any real movement?
So the Iranian state media sort of revealed some of the key points in a 14-point peace plan put forward by Iran late last week. It apparently calls for the lifting of sanctions on Iran, ending the U.S. naval blockade on Iranian ports, and ending all hostilities, including Israel's activities in Lebanon. Iranian state media also reported that there had been a U.S. response and that Iran's leaders were reviewing it. But an Israeli media outlet is reporting that President Trump told them the plan is not acceptable. I think the feeling in many parts of the Middle East is of profound uncertainty. There's obviously a ceasefire in place, no more airstrikes landing in Iran, no more air raid sirens sounding here in Israel. But there is a fear that if an agreement isn't reached between the two sides, the ceasefire could break down and the whole thing could start all over again. And the two sides at this point seem very far apart.
Okay, Holly Williams, thank you.
Crews are searching for 2 U.S. soldiers who went missing during a training mission. The troops were reported missing in North Africa on Sunday. Officials say there is no sign of terrorism. CBS News foreign correspondent Chris Livesay has a story.
Good morning. Well, our embed with the U.S. military started off as a training exercise, but has turned into a real-life rescue mission. Thousands of personnel are gathered here in the Moroccan desert to train on the latest in battlefield tech. Now, many of them are using it to try and save their fellow soldiers. Aircraft have been scouring the Moroccan coastline for the missing soldiers since Saturday night, here where the Saharan desert meets the Atlantic Ocean. According to defense officials, the soldiers were off duty, hiking, when they fell off a cliff and into the crashing waves. This is the camp where those 2 service members went missing from. And now what started off as a training exercise has turned into a real-world operation for their brothers and sisters in arms to save them. Our CBS News team and I were inside our tent Saturday night when suddenly officials called everyone to attention for a head count. Aircraft were soon circling overhead. They have yet to cease. CBS News is here following the military on a large-scale annual exercise known as African Lion. More than 7,000 personnel from over 30 nations, with a growing focus on artificial intelligence, autonomous systems, and drones. Now, those drones, intended for the training ground, are being deployed sooner than these service members could have imagined in an effort to bring the missing home. It's been a sobering experience for these young men and women. We had just interviewed one of the young masterminds behind the display of this drone technology. Little did we know that hours later, they'd be using it to search for his fellow soldiers. For CBS Mornings, I'm Chris Livesay in Tantan, Morocco.
Turning now to an alarming story that we're following about a deadly virus outbreak on a cruise ship docked in Cape Verde, South Africa. Officials say about 6 people are sick and at least 3 have now died. Investigators also believe it may have been a disease spread by rodents. For more on this, I want to bring in CBS News foreign correspondent Ramy Inocencio. Ramy, explain to us what hantavirus is. How does it spread? And is it treatable?
Yes, Chanel. Rodents are known to be the main vector for hantavirus, and we don't even have to touch them really to get sick. We could just get sick by breathing in air that's around their droppings or their urine or from their saliva. That then causes fever, coughing, flu-like symptoms. But then if it gets worse, it can hit your heart, your lungs, and your kidneys, and as we were seeing, lead to death. The silver lining to this, though, is that one strain, there are two, isn't known to spread from person to person. This is the one that killed the wife of actor Gene Hackman last year. But there is a second strain called the Andes virus, and this is found in South America. And this one is notable because that one can spread between people, and that's why everyone is watching what's happening now here on the MV Hondias there, because that cruise ship came from Argentina, came from South America about 3 weeks ago, now anchored off the coast of Cape Verde, this investigation going on. But as for treatment, Chanel, you asked, this is not treatable. Doctors basically treat the symptoms here, rest fluids, but there is no cure. And from what experts are saying, about 1 in 3 people, 30 to 50% of the people who get hantavirus die.
Wow.
So what is the World Health Organization and the UN saying about all this? Is there a concern that this could spread even further?
Sure. Well, right now, the WHO is taking a cautious approach, saying not to panic, that the risk to the public remains low, and that there is no need for travel restrictions at this point. And this is coming from its regional director of Europe here, who also said that the WHO is working with countries for more investigations into this. But as we're seeing here, that ship is outside of the harbor of the capital of Cape Verde. And as for trying to avoid hantavirus ourselves, I'm sure we're all trying to think, where could we get exposed? First thing, obviously, get rid of rodents if you see them. And then if you see rodent droppings, experts say don't sweep them up, don't vacuum them, because then if you do that, that could go into the air, and then that's where things get difficult, and that's where it becomes potentially a threat on your life.
Okay, some good info to know there. Remy Inocencio, thank you.
I hope you heard everything in this video. What is your own opinion? Drop it in the comment section. If Iranian boats up to 6 were eliminated, it means that the US are in charge. In fact, they are in full charge of the Strait of Hormuz. So that is all I have to say. You can drop your opinion in the comment section for us to know what you think. For more news and updates like this, subscribe. See you in the next one. God bless.